We're here today with local blues legend Ellis Kell at the Main Street Library in Davenport as part of their Main Mondays concert series. First of all, what I'd like to know is what was it that made you want to begin to play music?
Well, I found a bunch of old records when I was about 9 or 10 years old in a yard sale, and I had an old hi-fi record player that would play 45s or 33 RPM, or it would play 78s. And I actually found some old 78s, and some of them were gospel and blues records, and that's what really got me started on the blues. And then of course, you know, I listened to country and Johnny Cash, and so all the American roots music standouts, you know, were my favorites when I was growing up.
In what part of the country did you live in?
I was born and raised in Rock Island. I've lived here in the Quad Cities all my life. I've been out a few times to go other places and play and traveled, but I've never lived anywhere but the Quad Cities.
You mentioned some of your influences was mostly blues and gospel and country. Are there any particular artists that maybe were a little more influential?
Well, when I was growing up, Elvis was a big influence. The Beatles were a big influence. You know, I always enjoyed all different kinds of music. Ray Charles, you know, later on, people like Randy Newman. But the Beatles and Elvis were probably the biggest influences while I was growing up. But I was listening to Johnny Cash and country artists, Hank Williams, before it was really popular for people my age to do that. There was just something about the rootsy music and the basic stuff that I really liked.
Yeah, the fundamentals, as they
Yep.
say.
3 chords and the truth.
That's right. Looking back at past performances, what are some of your favorite memories on stage or in front of a crowd?
Well, I think the first time that we opened for B.B. King, which was in 1993 at the Adler Theater, he came out and talked to us shortly before we went on and just treated us like we were some of the other boys in the band, and we were just all so amazed at somebody of that stature. And there have been quite a few. I've got to see and meet a few of my musical idols. B.B., of course, is one of them. I got to see Elvis perform in 1971. And I also got to see McCartney perform up in Milwaukee, so I've had a chance to see some of my favorites in action.
And I understand you're going to open up for BB again this May?
May 31st, this will be the 4th time that we've opened for BB. We opened for him in 93, 96, 95, and then we played with him in 2005 for the big Genesis Diabetes concert at the River Center, and then this will be our 4th time.
I'll be looking forward to that. I'll be in row C.
There you go.
Good seat, and I'll be looking forward to seeing both of you.
It's a great show.
I'm sure. What are some of your favorite venues that you've played at?
It was such a thrill for us to play at the Adler Theater, and I've also played at the Capitol Theater. We played a private party there one time, and the sound in the Capitol Theater is incredible. And the Adler, you know, playing at the Blues Festival. I've played at 4 or 5 different blues festivals, not necessarily with my band, but with my band and other acts, and as support talent. One thing that was really a thrill is I got a chance to play guitar with Francis Clay, who recently passed away. He was from Rock Island. He was Muddy Waters' drummer in the 1950s, and he was from Rock Island. And he came back, I believe it was 98, to get his Lifetime Achievement Award, and we put together an all-star band, and I got to play guitar with him. That was a thrill.
Yeah, I bet.
He was a real true blue legend.
Have you played at festivals then other than the one in LeClaire Park?
We played in LeClaire Park. We played down in Iowa City a couple times. We played in Cedar Rapids for a big festival, and we played down in Des Moines a couple times. I played with my harmonica player, Detroit Larry. We were asked 2 years ago to be a part of the Great Illinois Performers Festival that was in Millennium Park in Chicago, and that was a big one.
And did you play in the J. Pritzker Pavilion in Millennium Park in the big?
We didn't play in the pavilion. We were across from it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there were multiple stages going on, but yeah, we played across the field from the big chrome peanut. So
yeah, the bean or
the big bean. Yeah.
Is that where they hold the blues festival in Chicago now?
No, the blues festival in Chicago is in Grant Park.
Okay.
It's close, but not Millennium Park.
Yeah, yeah, I've never been to it, but
it's an incredible place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been to the park, but not the festival. Have you ever played for the library's main Monday's concert?
I've been here before. I've never played here. I've played at the Moline Library. Up on 41st, they asked me to do a little segment. I believe it was on a Saturday afternoon. I played there, but I've never played over here.
Do you have a studio album or a performance that you consider to be a favorite recording of yours?
I got a chance to record a song that I wrote for my dad that I'm going to do tonight. It's called Irish Digger. And it's a real special ballad to me. I wrote it after I lost my dad in 1994. And then it sort of changed up. I lost my daughter in 2002. And she sort of crept into the last verse. And she's been there ever since. So it's sort of an ode to both of them.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I started out playing music when I was about 13 years old. I was born and raised in Rock Island. I've lived here all my life. And never really lived more than a few blocks from the river. So the river always played a big part in my music and what I did. And then a lot of times I'd go down to the river and relax. Sometimes I'd take a guitar, sometimes I wouldn't. But I grew up listening to a wide variety of music, and when I started playing rock and roll, which would have been maybe late 1970s, early 1980s, I liked doing blues, but it wasn't hip at the time to do the blues, so the rock band I was in, I was like, I don't play that old stuff, man. You know, we're going to do Foreigner and Journey, you know. It's like, yeah, that's cool too, but what about this, you know? So there was a time when playing the blues wasn't real hip, wasn't real cool, but it always comes back around. And you know, I get to teach the kids at River Music Experience where the music came from and how it came up the river. And it's a story that I never get tired of telling because it all goes back to basically the three chords and the truth. And that's in country music, blues, any basic music. And everybody from there on just kind of put their own spin on it. There was an old blues song, for example, I think Big Mama Thornton recorded, and it was like, it's all right now, Mama, that's all right for you. That's all right now, Mama, any old way you do. Then this young white boy at Sun Records on Memphis got a hold of it, and he was trying to find his sound, and he could sound like everybody from Eddie Arnold to Dean Martin and all of his idols, but he didn't know what he sounded like. So they kept the tape going, and the guy said, take a break. He said, I'm not hearing what I want. You know, Sam Phillips down at Sun Records. He says, it's not quite what I had in mind, boys. Take a break. Well, the lady who was doing the tape machine just left it running. Forgot to turn it off. And Elvis and the gang just started playing around, and he took that old blues song and he did it a different way. The bass player looked at him and he says, I don't know what you're doing, Elvis, but just keep doing it. Well, that's all right now, Mama. That's all right for you. That's all right now, Mama. Sit any old way you do. Well, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right now, Mama. Any way you want to do. 4 white boys down there in that studio at the same time. It was around 1954. And each one of them loved gospel music, each one of them loved country music, and each one of them loved the blues. And they all did it their own way. One guy did it like... They found him on the railroad track this morning. I could see that he was nearly dead. Hurt me when I bent down to hear him, just to hear the words that dying fellow said. Johnny Cash. The other 2 guys were Carl Perkins. The other one was a blonde piano player named Jerry Lee Lewis. They all did it their own way and took it their own direction. And that's the beauty of American roots music. And that's why I like it. It's very basic, but it lets everybody put their own spin on it. Tonight I'm going to play some of my songs for you. I'm going to play a few songs by other people that I've grown up with and have become my favorites. One of the most prolific songwriters that I know in the history of country music or American music is Chris Christopherson, and I had a chance to work with him a few years ago. He came and played a concert for us at the Capitol Theater, and he played this song here. And if there was ever a good example of 3 chords in the truth, this is it. It's just a good story. The scene was a small roadside cafe. The waitress was sweeping the floor. 2 truck drivers drinking their coffee, and 2 oaky kids by the door. How much are them candies, they asked her. How much have you got, she replied. We've only a penny between us. Them's 2 for a penny, she lied. And the daylight grew heavy with thunder, and the smell of the rain on the wind. Ain't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again. One truck driver said to the waitress, after the kids went outside, them candies ain't 2 for a penny. What's it to you, she replied. In silence they finished their coffee and got up and nodded goodbye. She said, hey, you left too much money. What's it to you, they replied. And the daylight grew heavy with thunder, and the smell of the rain on the wind. Ain't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again. Ain't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again. Thank you. So I grew up listening to Elvis. I grew up listening to the Beatles. I grew up listening to gospel music, to B.B. King. Just about everything I could find. And I can't really say there's too many different forms of music that I don't like. Which, like I say, when I got into rock and roll, a few people were telling me, now put that away. We don't want to do that. We want to do this. Because when I grew up and was playing in bands, you were either a country musician or you were a blues musician or a jazz musician, and the lines didn't cross too often. And now it's not only it not only happens, but it's a good thing. An example of that is like Country Music Channel has the program Crossroads. So you see Kid Rock end up playing with Hank Williams Jr. and just combinations that 15 years ago would have never have happened. The thing that's good about it is something new is born out of it, and something fresh and something alive. About 1965, 1966, somewhere in there, a friend of mine got an album, and it was by the Beatles, and it was called Help. And it had one of these songs on there. There's been a few songs like this that I've picked up in my life that just, for some reason or other, they just stuck with me. They're not real difficult, they're not real intricate, but there's just something about the tonality. And I remember there was a scene of the Beatles doing this song, and they were sitting in John Lennon's living room, and they were just playing acoustic guitars. There was no band. So I want to do this one for you. I got a chance to do this one over in Ireland, and it's the only song I knew that I could get everybody to sing along to, because I didn't know any Irish songs, but Lennon was Irish, so I kind of snuck it in. But I imagine a whole Irish pub singing to this thing. Here I stand, head in hand, turn my face to the wall. If she's gone, I can't go on, feeling 2 foot small. Everywhere people stare, each and every day. I can see them laugh at me, and I hear them say, hey, you've got to hide your love away. Hey, you've got to hide your love away. How can I even try? I can never win. Hearing them, seeing them in the state I'm in. How could she say to me, love will find a way? Gather round, all you clowns, let me hear you say, hey, you've got to hide your love away. Hey, you've got to hide your love away. Thank you. So that was the early one. Oop, I've lost my water. If y'all, this is really kind of informal. If y'all think of a question or something along the way that you want to ask me about what I do or anything, that's cool. Just go ahead. Raise your hand. We'll do it like we do it at RME. Raise your hand, kids. Anybody watch the program that was on last night? Was it last night? About Martin Luther King? The King program was like 2 hours long. This is an early Beatles song that was always one of my favorites, and it's a little more intricate. But I didn't know until a few years ago what the origin was of it. McCartney wrote it, and they used it on the White Album. And I guess he wrote it when he was over in India, when they were over there with the Maharishi, studying Eastern Indian philosophy and spirituality. And somebody asked McCartney, what were you thinking about when you wrote Blackbird? And he says, well, you know, all that was going on in America at the time, we were watching it from way far away, and you all were having all this trouble with the race riots and the civil rights movement and the burning the cities, and Martin Luther King had just been assassinated. And I never knew what the song was about, but he said he wrote it thinking about over in England they called girls, or like if we call girls chicks here, they called them birds. It wasn't a derogatory term. It was just, like girls, gals or something. They called them birds. And he said what we were thinking about was all the black women and how they had been freed now to finally realize their own potential and to do something in society and coming out of all those years of bondage. And I had no idea that's what it was about. So I'll do it for you. It's called Blackbird. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to arrive. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of the dark black night. Sort of puts a whole different spin on it, doesn't it? Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to arrive. You were only waiting for this moment to arrive. You were only waiting for this moment to arrive. Thank you. This is a story song that I heard, and I can't even remember when the album came out. It was probably sometime around early 1970s. Another one of them songs that always stuck with me. But the reason I liked the song didn't have anything to do with the guy that it's about. But I remember my dad telling me a story. He grew up around Aledo, and he said when he was a boy, in the 1930s, young boy, they had a call out over the radio that John Dillinger had been sighted in the area down around Aledo, Illinois City. And he remembered being out on the road and seeing these guys come flying by in this old Model A or Model T or whatever it was, a whole bunch of guys. And then all of a sudden, a mile later, here come all these guys, police car, lights are going and stuff. And so he said he always thought he saw John Dillinger. This ain't about John Dillinger. This is about Machine Gun Kelly. So I don't know what that's got to do with anything. But this song, every time I play this song, it reminds me of my dad. Him telling me that story when he was a boy out in the farm boy and thought he saw John Dillinger go by. This is James Taylor's Machine Gun Kelly. Tell you a story about Machine Gun Kelly, rode along the outlaw trail. Machine Gun Kelly was a simple man, but the woman was as hard as hell. Watch out, Machine Gun. Don't let them run you around. Don't let a woman make you out to be a clown. Machine gun. Tell you a story about Catherine Kelly, tired of being such small time now. Figured to kidnap a rich man's daughter and to make it in the world of crime. Watch out, Machine Gun. Don't let it run you around. Don't let a woman make you out to be a clown. Machine gun. You better watch out, Machine Gun Kelly. Careful of what you do now. If you keep listening to your old lady, ain't no telling what'll happen to you now. Machine gun. Government boys that came for a machine gun took the poor boy away. Put him in a hole in Leavenworth prison where he lived until his dying day. Watch out, Machine Gun. Don't let him run you around. Don't let a woman make you out to be a clown. Machine Gun. watch out, machine gun. Used to be able to do this real good when I was a kid. Watch out, machine gun. Sounds better over mic. Well, I'm going to play some of my songs, and the reason I've got some liner notes here is I've got one that I just recently recorded, and I haven't played it out a bunch of times, so I may need a cheat sheet. Another one is one that I very rarely ever play out. Some of the songs, the best songs that I've written, were kind of expensive. They came out of real experience, things that I went through and things that happened to me and things that happened to our family. And sometimes they're not easy to sing, but they're all songs that I planned on recording, and some of them I do out, like Irish Digger. I don't know if have any of you ever seen me play before? Some of you might probably heard Irish Digger, and it's about my dad and my daughter. She kind of crept into the last verse, and she passed away in 2002, so now they're both in it. Those kind of songs are expensive, spiritually and hard on your soul, but I still think those are the best ones. I think that's where James Taylor got like Fire and Rain. I just think sometimes you got to go through that stuff to pull them songs out, and that's the songs come from God. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care if you're Christian, Jewish, Buddhist. It really doesn't matter. But we're not that clever to figure this stuff out. I know I'm not. When every song that I got like that was worth anything, I consider a gift from up above and inspiration. I couldn't have figured it out on my own. This is a song that I wrote after my daughter passed away. And I don't know if some of you heard about it or read about it anyway, but seeing her face in the moon, for us it really happened. It doesn't matter if anybody else thinks it did. For us it did. It pierced our hearts the night she died. She left this world too soon. Then I saw Carly Rose last night in the face of the hunter's moon. I stood there searching for a sign, just a few more words I prayed, from the laughing face of that little girl who could chase dark clouds away. The moon was bright as virgin snow as I strained my eyes to see. I feared they'd think I'd lost my mind, consumed by my own grief. Yes, it pierced our hearts the night she died. She left this world too soon. Then I saw Carly Rose last night in the face of the hunter's moon. Yet our younger daughter, she saw it too, as I held her by my side. She came back to us, Sally said, once more to say goodnight. Now many more have seen her since, gazing deep into the night, finding there her precious smile inside that ring of light. No, I don't believe he called her home, for it hurt him as much as I. But he welcomed her with open arms, and he freed her soul to fly. Yes, it pierced God's heart just as deep as mine. She left this world too soon. Then I saw Carly Rose last night, in the face of the hunter's moon. Thank you. Back in 2003, and when she left to go to other pursuits in Chicago, it really hurt her to leave River Music Experience because she had put her heart and soul into putting it together. She put a lot of work into it, and she was very passionate about her work. When she left, it wasn't easy for her. So I wrote this song and I gave it to her when she left, and it's called Redstone Blues. And I did just record this one. She's doing all right, by the way. She's down in Indianola, Mississippi right now, where she's the executive director of the new B.B. King Museum. So she did all right. Alone again in this Redstone Canyon. Oh, the city sleeps while I only wish I could. I tried to leave so many times before, but this time, you know, I probably should. I guess I really always knew someday I would. Strangers cross the street towards me. Well, I hide my face so they won't see me cry. I feel them laughing as they pass me, but deep inside, you know, I feel like dying. Highway 61 is calling and I'm so damn tired of trying. And I'm standing here on this same old corner, oh, down on 2nd Street in Maine. I'm just a stone's throw from the river. These old blues just are running through my brain. Highway 61 is just a few footsteps away. Freight train moans so sad and lonely, echoes down the line and on and on. When dawn slips into this Redstone Canyon, I'll be 7 miles south on Highway 61, with no one left to worry where or why I've gone. Standing here on this same old corner, oh, down on 2nd Street in Maine. Just a stone's throw from the river. These old blues just are running through my brain. Highway 61 is just a few footsteps away. Thank you. How y'all doing? I don't usually write a lot of sad songs, but when I do, I'm pretty sad. Occasionally, I might write a funny song, or kind of funny. I wrote this one, if I can remember all the words, it's going to be a miracle. I don't usually play this one out. I recorded this. It's actually the first recording I ever did was in 1980, and it was a 45. Imagine that. You say a 45 to a kid now, they go, what? Is it a gun or what? Yeah, a pistol? You know, no, it was about this big around, had a hole in the middle. A few years ago, I started working with Chad Pogracki when, before River Music Experience, I was at Quad Cities Online, and I helped him do their first website for Living Lands and Waters, back when it was Mississippi Reclamation and Recycling, and their name was about yay long. But it's when Chad was first starting out, and he come in there, and we all thought, you know, here's this kid, and he's going to go out, and he's got a flatboat, and he's going to clean up the whole river, and we're all kind of going, wait 6 months. Now, how many years has it been now? Over 10. What an incredible kid. He ain't a kid no more. He was a kid when he come in there. So I had this song, and he was going out at the time talking to schools about cleaning up the river and being ecologically friendly and doing your part. And I said, hey, I got a song you can use. It's the first thing I ever recorded, so I'll play you a little bit of it if I can remember all of it. It's called River Song, an Apology. It just seemed to fit Chad's mission. I think I got the idea for it after I saw Leon Redbone play the first time. Well, it's true, I am an old man, but I could take a lot more than you can. Though you lock me up and you damn me, I'm still free. Wash my mouth out with soapy water. I guess you do it 'cause you think you oughta. But I'll just keep on rolling to the sea. Well, I can still look back and see the days when you still needed me to get from Davenport to New Orleans. You'd barge in without knocking. Your attitude was shocking. You didn't even try to keep me clean. Well, it's true, I am an old man, but I can take a lot more than you can. Though you lock me up and you damn me, I'm still free. Wash my mouth out with soapy water. I guess you do it 'cause you think you oughta. And I'll just keep on rolling to the sea. I paid you for your foolish pranks, overdrawn at all my banks. Thought that 65 would set you right. You see, walls cannot hold me, clay dikes cannot control me. You've bridged the gap, but you still can't see the light. Well, it's true, I am an old man, but I can take a lot more than you can. Though you lock me up and you damn me, I'm still free. Wash my mouth out with soapy water. I guess you do it 'cause you think you oughta. But I'll just keep on rolling to the sea. You dump concrete at my front door. Your garbage lays upon my floor. I drink the filth from all your factories. Again, someday you'll need me, so think before you bleed me, or I'll just be a muddy memory. Well, it's true, I am an old man, but I can take a lot more than you can. Though you lock me up and damn me, I'm still free. Wash my mouth out with soapy water. Guess you do it 'cause you think you oughta. I'll just keep on rolling to the sea. Yeah, I'll just keep on rolling to the sea. Thank you. And I'm proud to say Chad used that for the first year that he went out and spoke to schools. And he'd play it for them, and they'd go, what was that? This is a song that I wrote about my dad. I think about it every time. Honest to God, every time I drive over the Centennial Bridge going home, because I still live in Rock Island, but I work over here. And if you go over the Centennial Bridge towards Rock Island, and you look off on the Illinois shore on the right-hand side, you'll see a big earthen dike that runs down to where the seawall starts at Modern Woodman. My dad built that dike, and he went up and down that thing on a bulldozer. And I can remember, I was like 10, 11 years old, and I can remember seeing him going up and down that dike on that bulldozer. He'd work down there 15, 16, 17 hours a day until they got that flood underway. He worked on the flood of 65. And I remember I was a 10-year-old boy, just like it says in the song. I can remember him taking me down at the foot of 20th Street, and there was this huge wall of sandbags that had to be like 20 feet high. And I can remember him telling me, I was standing on the other side of it, if you walked up to the top of that and looked over, he says, the water is just like a foot down from the top of that. So where you're standing at, you'd be underwater. There'd be like 10 feet of water on your head. And I was just like, a 10-year-old kid. It's like, you got to be kidding me. But I remember the flood of 65, and I remember my dad not coming home for days, and they lived down there in the trucks, and they ate Red Cross food, and sometimes I wouldn't see him for 2 or 3 days, but him and a bunch of other people, the city Rock Island, saved that city, and I was always real proud of my dad for that, so I wrote this song for him, and I'm glad to say that he got to hear it before he passed away. Sitting here on the riverbank, all looks so calm and peaceful now. It wasn't always that way, people, let me tell you now. The river takes an ocean to flood, leave you standing deep in the mud, the way the Mississippi did here in 65. An early thaw up north and a little rain. I was only 10 years old at the time. Still see as clear as yesterday, people, let me tell you now. Them old men, they would sit and surmise the river just continued to rise. The old man sat and watched as the marker read 21-5. We were bagging at the levee and the skies were looking heavy. We prayed that it would soon subside. We prayed that he'd deliver all the folks along the river from the waters of the flood of 65. The men, they worked all day and they worked all night. The high schools and colleges, they manned the dikes. We all saw the power of the river, people, let me tell you now. Late April saw the river crest, 22-5 at his best. It took a little bit of us all when he finally went down. Now I'm sitting here on this riverbank, watching a big old barge locking through. Never forget the flood of 65, let me tell you now. The power that the river showed when the banks weren't banks no more. The Mississippi left us standing helpless in the mud. As we were bagging at the levee, the skies were looking heavy. We prayed that it would soon subside. We prayed that he'd deliver all the folks along the river from the waters of the flood of 65. We were bagging at the levee, the skies were looking heavy. We prayed that it would soon subside. Prayed that he'd deliver all the folks along the river from the waters of the flood of 65. Thank you. Play a blues tune for you. If you didn't hear as much blues as you wanted to hear tonight, I apologize for that. But it's not all I do. It's part of what I do. But I took some hits on that here a ways back, they interviewed me for something, and I can't remember what it was, but I said I don't want to just be known as the Quad Cities blues guy. And it came out wrong. And the people at the Blues Society were like, "What's the matter? You don't want to play the blues no more? You don't like the blues no more?" And I'm like, no, that's not what I said. That's not what I meant. I love the blues, but I also love country music, and I like some jazz, and I like gospel music. That's what I meant. This is a song that I wrote about Maxwell Street in Chicago, which is no longer there. Yeah. And I had a chance to work with the people that were trying to save it from the University of Illinois at Chicago. They literally rolled right over it. And the sad thing about it is Maxwell Street in Chicago was what Beale Street was to Memphis. It was the center of where the blues guys first came. It's where the Chicago urban blues sound was created. It's where Muddy Waters came, and Howlin' Wolf, and Sonny Boy Williamson, and all those old guys came and played in the street right after they had got off the freight train that came up from Mississippi and Memphis. And it is such a shame that they just annihilated it to make more tennis courts and dormitories. But that's another story. But it's also the reason I wrote this song. I wrote the song, I dedicated it to the people at gave it to the people at the Maxwell Street Historic Preservation Coalition, and they were trying to save it, but, you know, there's only so much you can do in Chicago if you're on the other side of the fence from Mayor Daley. So use your imagination. Imagine Muddy and some of the other guys that have gone before. They're sitting upstairs, looking down off Maxwell Street, and one of their old buddies, Pine Top Perkins, is sitting down there. The ghost of Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and Jimmy Reed look down on Pine Top Perkins. He's sitting there crying on Maxwell Street. Muddy turned to Wolf. He said, "What's wrong with old Pine Top?" He said, "Mud, they want to tear it down, and we gotta make them stop, 'cause even Muddy's tears on Maxwell won't ever wash away these blues. Wash the footprints from the sidewalks that once was graced by the blues man's shoes. Lord God Almighty," Elmore James cried to Sonny Boy too. Little Walter and Big Walter, they just shook their heads, didn't know what to do. Hound Dog Taylor grabbed an old battered axe and he cut right through the night. From some distant cloud, Willie Dixon said, "Boys, you better get it right. Even Muddy's tears on Maxwell won't ever wash away these blues. Wash the footprints from the sidewalk that once was graced by the blues man's shoes." Muddy wiped his tears and fumbled in his pocket for his slide, tuned that trusty Telecaster, and he turned to Howlin' Wolf there by his side. Said, "Follow me, full-grown blues man, ain't nothing left to choose. We're going back to Maxwell Street to save Chicago's blues, 'cause even Muddy's tears on Maxwell won't ever wash away these blues. Wash the footprints from the sidewalks that once was graced by the blues man's shoes. Where you can't bulldoze or blast the heart and soul from the past. Sweet home Chicago's blues." I do want to leave a minute at the end. I got time for a couple more here, but I want to leave a minute at the end if you got any questions or anything you want to ask me. Anybody? I just always called him Martin. That's his name because that's what it says. But, yeah. I thought that was appropriate. I remember the first time I saw Martin, was in this big poster of Paul McCartney in the studio at Abbey Road, and he had one of these, only he held his the other way upside down. And it turns out that him and John Lennon were given brand new D-28s from the Martin Company when they went to India to meet the Maharishi, and that's what they wrote most of the White Album on. And I saw one, and then I saw, wait a minute, Elvis has got one of them, and Johnny Cash has got one of them. That must be the guitar to have. So my dad brought me this guitar, brand new in 1972, and it's in a heck of a shape. It's got all these cracks on it. When I took it up north, I was in a Blue Lake Fine Arts camp. I was a counselor, and then during the day it got real hot. During the night it'd get cold, and the finish went. But it looks kind of cool. And then my buddy signed it for me when I worked for him that day, so that made it kind of special.
D35?
Yep. 1972 D35. My dad bought it for me at Simon Music when it used to be downtown Moline. And it's like Charlton Heston said, they'll pry this one from my cold, dead hands. They're not going to get this one. I want to play one more Chris Christopherson song for you. And then I want to play one of mine before we go. I started listening to Chris Christopherson right after I graduated from high school, and it was the time that a dear friend of mine from the west end of Rock Island, who just really drifted far away from all the rest of us and had some really serious problems with some really serious drugs, and he almost didn't recover. But I listen to this song, and it always reminds me of him. And I just feel real fortunate that he's still among us. And never found a better buddy or a better friend, but he sure went through some hellacious times. See him wasted on the sidewalk, in his jacket and his jeans, wearing yesterday's misfortunes like a smile. Once he had a future full of money, love, and dreams, which he spent like they was going out of style. And he keeps right on a-changing, for the better or the worse, searching for a shrine he's never found. Never knowing if believing is a blessing or a curse, or if the going up was worth the coming down. He's a poet, he's a picker, he's a prophet, he's a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's a walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction, taking every wrong direction on his lonely way back home. He has tasted good and evil in your back rooms and your bars, and he's traded in tomorrow for today, running like the devil, Lord, reaching for the stars, losing all he loved along the way. If this world keeps right on spinning, for the better or the worse, and all he ever gets is older and around. From the rocking of the cradle to the rolling of the hearse, well, the going up was worth the coming down. He's a poet, he's a picker, he's a prophet, he's a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's a walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction, taking every wrong direction on his lonely way back home. There's a lot of wrong directions on that lonely way back home. Thank you. This last song I want to play for is one of mine, and I first wrote it in 1994. I actually wrote the words about 2 days after my dad passed away, and then In 2002, I lost my daughter, and my oldest daughter, in a car accident. And one night when we were out playing it, sometime after 2002, we was out playing it somewhere with the whole band. And the last verse just kind of morphed on me, and my daughter Carly crept into it. She's been there ever since, so it ended up being kind of ode to both of them. I'll do this one for you. This one's called Irish Digger. There wasn't time enough to tell you all I'd wanted to so long, and all them things we do together, they're lost forever with you gone. You will always walk here with me, and all these earthly things I do, I keep your name in memory. To your spirit I'll be true. Irish digger, we dig you. My dad was an excavating contractor, and that was his slogan, "We dig you." He used to have it painted on all of his tractors and stuff. Looking back on all you taught me, and all that I have learned from you, the way I try and treat this world around me, Lord, it comes from thinking what you do. You will always walk here with me, and all these earthly things I do, I will keep your name and memory. To your spirit I'll be true. Irish digger, we dig you. God, how I wish that we could keep you, but it's time to travel on, knowing you'll be there in heaven long before the devil knows you're gone. You will always walk here with me, all these earthly things I do. Yes, I know you're there in heaven, and I know Carl is up there with you. God, sometimes I wish I was too. Thank you. Oh, we got time for one more, and we'll leave you on a happy note. This is bound to make you happy, but you got to do your part because you got to sing. Uh-oh, I didn't know he was going to do that.
I got more microphones if you want.
Take you back where it all started again. 3 chords and the truth. The blues. Muddy Waters, McKinley Morganfield. Real simple, call and response, just like back in the field holler days. I sing it, you repeat it. If you repeat it, it's real fun. If you don't repeat it, I look stupid. So please repeat it. Well, I got my mojo working. Got my mojo working. Yeah! Got my mojo working. Got my mojo working. Got my mojo working, but it just don't work on you. That's very good. I'm going down to Louisiana to get me a mojo hand. I'm going down to Louisiana, get me a mojo hand. I'm gonna have everybody fetching at my command. Get ready. Well, I got my mojo working. Yeah, I got my mojo working. Got my mojo working. Got my mojo working. Got my mojo working, but it just don't work on you. One more time. Well, I got a gypsy woman giving me advice. I got a gypsy woman giving me advice. I got all kinds of magic keeping here on ice. Here's your chance. Well, I got my mojo working. Got my mojo working. Got my mojo working. Got my mojo working. Got my mojo working, but it still don't work on you. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Drive careful and God bless you all.